Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the FX Daily Roundup. And we have seen some pretty good volatility really across the board. Obviously, specifically here in the SPOOs, where we'd gone up to 31.58 overnight, and then we had actually started rolling back early in the European session. Really, this actually started as Trump started, tweeting. Actually, during the European session, pretty early time for him to be tweeting. He was griping about Brazil and Argentina, and you could already sense that things were starting to fall off, that the wheels were starting to kind of like fall off the caboose, meaning the trade deal. I don't know if you saw that. Live Squawk retweeted an article about Brazil reaching a deal with China to do the soybean meal. And at the time, Trump started tweeting about how farmers are getting money, are going to be getting money, blah, blah, blah. And you can already sense it. Hey, something's not right here. Already looks like, hey, this deal is not going to get done. So right off the bat, man, we opened up on the morning session and just started selling right from the get-go. I had 31.32. That was a 23%, and my secondary target was 31.16 at 38%. But we chewed through that, and we took a dip down here, and we had a good little support level here, 31.09. There was a lot of volume at 31.10. I'm talking about on the D's futures. And we didn't quite go into the 09s. Actually, we might do it now. We actually had a rally back. I had resistance at 31.2150, but when we held that 14 on the way back, I thought, you know what? I think they may make it up to 23.75. Well, 21.5 ended up, or 21.25 ended up holding, and we just took a quick dip right now. The downside target is just so be clear is watch out for this 31.09 8-ish, although we've already come down so many times. So what I'm looking on the downside on these futures is going to be 31.05, really technically it's 31.04, 31.01, 30.95, and 30.91 as key levels on the downside. Now getting back in here into FX land. We did see, well, not only we're seeing some pretty good movements across the board, we are seeing the Kiwi really make a move up in here. Bear with me. But I want to go and touch base on the euro dollar, and you see this thing is already starting to take off a bit. Now, we do have some key resistance here, and we did the analysis. Actually, we're looking at 1080, but this morning, we had a nice close on Friday after going sub 110. It got to those 982, came back up here, but we didn't punch it too much higher. So the thought was in the analysis this morning was, hey, if we can get above 1031 on the close, that'll stymie the bears. But 1052 will go a long ways towards pushing us higher. And I think I was looking for a short-term buy if we got past 1052. So much of stuff has happened this morning. It's hard to keep track with everything. But right now, you can see the resistance level coming up here in the daily right there at 1074. But look, it looks like this market wants to move. The cash dollar index has already dipped below now. We had our support, which has been holding. And actually made a move overnight up to almost at 98.65. I think we ran out of gas before 98.60. But on the dip back, we have 98. The key weekly level is 97.89, but our secondary support was 97.79. So we'll see what happens. But I would not be getting in the way of this euro because there's a lot of pent-up demand, I don't know about pent-up demand, but we've done a lot of work down here. And we had the opportunity to break to new lows on a Friday, and we came back and thwarted that. And now here we are punching up higher. Be careful. I would not be getting in the way of this euro whatsoever. Looking at the cable. $29.80 continues to remain the pivot here on this cable. The cable started a little bit under some pressure. In the European session, there was some polls out and showed that the Conservatives' lead was beginning to shrink, so it had it under a little bit of pressure. But we're still holding up fairly well, and I think someone was asking about this in the chat room. It was Pedro, and I was saying, "Hey, look," he was like, "Why is the cable moving higher now?" Because those polls came out, a little bit tighter, tightening up. But I said, but at the time, that was when the dollar index was already starting to come down. I think at the time we're down like in the 98.21 or something like that. I said, well, really, at this point now, we're just seeing some dollar selling. Speaking of dollar selling, I want to go on and go to another key chart here. which is the dollar yen. We talked about this. I was talking about this in the chat room too, as far as the concern with the SPUs. And I was saying, hey, and also the bonds, because I was seeing some nice movement in the European session. And I said, hey, watch out with this, CC, carbon copy, the dollar yen. For those who trading the dollar yen, now we did get above that pivot of 927. Potentially there's a move that could go to 1055, but today's resistance was 977, buy chart resistance. And we had this in before we even got there. Looks like we just about got there, but we got turned away. We said, hey, look, we're just going to go and stick with the technical, just from level to level, so to speak. So it looks like the high was 972, and really the door was open. We were talking about that, as mentioned in the room. I go, hey, look, these SPUs, this whole story with Trump and China reaching that deal with Brazil, to me, I was saying it looks like they're just moving on, and this deal isn't going to get done this even though there's not much left this year, and probably won't get done until January. And China's already basically moved on. They reached that big, huge soybean meal deal with Brazil, basically going to be bypassing to a certain extent U.S. farmers. That's why Trump was making such a big deal, adding on, the tariffs, so forth and so on, but our farmers are getting a lot of extra money. Well, that's a temporary fix. That doesn't fix anything in the long run. But it basically, when I saw that, I'm thinking, hey, look, you know what? Looks like we may be up, set up for a disappointment in this situation. I think FX Macro made also a comment about the Cakeson survey. It was more positive, but that was because there's more days than there were in the month, blah, 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 warmer weather. Well, that can have its little bit of pull, but to me, it was really about that story with South America getting that deal with China, because China's not only moving on, but that supplants the U.S. farmers as the option when they go in and reach that deal. And I'm thinking, well, they wouldn't be doing all that if we're about ready to sign a deal. At least they'd put it off. So that tells me they're moving on. And that's why I think we found the equities under pressure. Getting back to those equities, like I said, I think we made a dip here, and we came back, we dipped again. I thought we might dip into 3109. We started to rally back, retested again at 3113 and a quarter, like on the third trip down, and it looked like, okay, we may have enough now to push past and get up to about 3123-ish. But we did come apart, or not come apart, but we came off of that 3120. So really the bias now, or the momentum, is going to be to the downside. So on the downside, I'd be looking at 3104, as I mentioned, 3101, 3095 and 3091 on the downside as for levels they can go to. I don't think 3109 is going to hold it at this point. We've already had multiple times to go down there and take out those lows and then snap back. So we just may continue to lean. And don't forget, we've had a phenomenal run here in the SPUs. And is there something distinct that's coming in? Well, yeah. I mean, like I said, now it looks like China's going their own way now at this point. And certainly, when I say in their own way, is that they're not, what the market's been building up for is a deal being done this month. Obviously, December 15th is a big deal about the tariffs and all that. But once again, it's all about, I want to say politics, but, when you look at something, it's all about, I'm trying to think of the right word or context, but it's all about presentation. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. If the deal was this close, China would have waited to make the announcement about Brazil, would have made that, let's say, a few weeks later, not at this time. So that's what I'm saying. To me, that rang, and I was saying that in the room, that rang true to me that, hey, something's up. You know what I mean? So I was already thinking, hey, well, on any rally back up here in these SPUs, it's going to be a nice short opportunity. Forget that. This started selling right from the get-go, and there was just no letting up. This thing was just plowing to hit 31.32 within the first few moments. That was a 23%. 31.16 hit that just a few moments later, or not too much longer later. That was a 38%, and then we started coming down here to challenge 31.12 to 31.09. We did see a bop up, but we saw a retest. Then another retest. I thought on that third retest, hey, you know what? Around that 31.12-ish area, hey, now we can now make a move maybe in, up to about 31.23, but we failed here at 31.21. We kind of dipped back, and now the momentum has changed. So that's where we stand right now. Let's go on and quickly move in. I mentioned the dollar yen is under some pressure now. If we slide under 908, which is going to be basically our support, it really puts the market under pressure. We were talking about actually in our Asian analysis or analysis moving into European crossover webinar early in the morning, that if we got a daily close above 927, it really opens the door below 927, below this pivot, opens the door for a move down to 851. So once again, like I said, it really makes it, puts the onus, I think, that you can see here, the euro dollar, certainly some pretty good strength here. We're taking a little bit of a pause here, but once again, I would not be getting in the way of this thing. And once again, also the cable is making its own steps in here. Moving on over to the cross rates here quickly. We are seeing the guppy take a little bit, for a moment. Right here with the guppy. We're still struggling out here in this 4182. It looks like we're trying to break out, but we'll find out what happens here on the guppy. And also looking up here at the pound versus the Aussie dollar. We're right here at 90.58. We're sliding back below there. So that's going to be the key level if we get back below here. Sterling still has some strength. But against the dollar, cable is still holding its own. Although we are starting to see it slip under, you saw it versus the yen versus the Aussie. Let's go on and also step back in here and take a quick look. This has been a little disappointing considering how well the equities have done all along. The Aussie yen has not been able to do anything. We're now starting to go in and pair back. So just keep an eye out on some of these rates that we are seeing here. Like I said, watch out for these SPOOs. The pressure still remains, and I think we can potentially make it, I don't want to say easily, but 3104 is really the next level that we're going to see what the market can do and if they can hold if we go and take a run down there. That's all that we have for today. Thanks for joining us here on the FX Daily Wrap-Up.